TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations.
Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News, broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Jerusalem reasserts its intention to fight the Islamist Hamas until total victory is achieved. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken stresses Iran's proactive efforts to destabilize the Middle East and prevent Israel from integrating into the region. U.S. Central Command successfully eliminates a senior commander of the Iranian-proxy Kataib Hezbollah in Iraq. The IDF continues to deepen its operational activities throughout the Gaza Strip, with chief focus on the city of Khan Yunis, where the Islamist Hamas sustains repeated losses. Following a meeting between visiting U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli leader held a televised press conference, during which he re-emphasized that Jerusalem will not capitulate to international pressure.
Our security and the prospects of peace in the Middle East depend on one thing: total victory over Hamas. At the start of the war, I outlined 3 goals: destroy Hamas, free the hostages, and ensure that Gaza doesn't pose a threat to Israel anytime in the future. Achieving these goals will ensure Israel's security and pave the way for additional historic peace agreements with our Arab neighbors. But peace and security require total victory over Hamas. We cannot accept anything else. Can you imagine what will happen if we don't have total victory? Hamas leaders have already pledged they'll repeat the October 7th massacre over and over and over again. No nation can accept that. We certainly won't. Without total victory, Iran and its terror proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and others, will be emboldened to subvert moderate states in the Middle East. They'll threaten the entire free world. Only total victory will prevent that. And total victory is within our reach.
Prime Minister Netanyahu went on to highlight that in contrast to the duration which the US-led coalition took to defeat the relatively meager force of the Islamic State in the Iraqi city of Mosul, the IDF has managed to deal a decisive blow in less than half the time.
Israel's military achievements are truly unprecedented. As John Spencer, head of urban warfare at West Point, noted, it took the United States and its allies 9 months to defeat ISIS in Mosul. Mosul is a single city, smaller than Gaza, doesn't have any terror tunnels, and it had only 5,000 terrorists. Yet in 4 months, the IDF has killed, wounded, or captured over 20,000 terrorists, more than half of Hamas's fighting force. We've shattered 18 out of 24 Hamas battalions, and we're mopping up the remaining terrorists with ongoing raids. Our soldiers are systematically destroying the massive underground terror tunnels. Hamas believed this was an impregnable network. Yet our brave soldiers are now physically inside these tunnels. They're demolishing rocket factories, weapon stockpiles, command and control centers, and what Hamas thought were unreachable safe houses.
The Israeli leader went on to highlight the fact that the international community, including allies and partners, did not believe the IDF had what it took to contend with Hamas in the Gaza Strip, and emphasized the need to push back at those who pressure Israel to grant Hamas a lifeline at a time when total victory is militarily within reach.
We were repeatedly told by many in the international community that all this simply couldn't be done. They said that a ground offensive would not be effective, that we couldn't enter Gaza City because it would be an abominable death trap, that we couldn't go into the hospitals that served as Hamas headquarters without inflicting massive civilian casualties, and that we couldn't enter the underground terror tunnels because nobody could. Yet our brave soldiers proved them all wrong on all counts. Many also argued that Israel's military campaign would scuttle our ability to release the hostages. Well, they were wrong on this one too. Military pressure led to the release of 110 hostages, and only continued military pressure will bring home the remaining hostages.
While further highlighting Israel's intentions to soon enter with force into the town of Rafah, which is the last bastion of Hamas control in the southern Gaza Strip, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu went on to underscore that Israel's security and peace in the entire Middle East demand for total victory.
We're at a pivot of history where the region can go either in the direction of light or in the direction of darkness. We won't allow Iran's forces of darkness to win. Our security and the future of the Middle East require total victory. Total victory over Hamas can bring us additional gifts of peace. Our doctrine of peace through strength has already brought us the Abraham Accords. Total victory will help us bring more historical peace agreements. Hamas is the obstacle blocking a better and more peaceful Middle East, and it's threatening Israel's security. The pressure of the world should be on destroying Hamas as quickly as possible, and not on preventing Israel from doing so. All those who yearn for peace should support our quest for total victory. Total victory for our security, total victory for peace in the region, total victory to secure our common future.
Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken held a press conference during the course of which he addressed a response by the Islamist Hamas to the U.S. spearheaded, via Qatari and Egyptian mediation, humanitarian deal which the Biden administration seeks to materialize.
We had an opportunity today to discuss with the Israeli government the response that Hamas sent last night to the proposal that the United States, Qatar, and Egypt had put together to bring the remaining hostages home and extend the humanitarian pause. What I can tell you about these discussions is that while there are some clear non-starters in Hamas's response, we do think it creates space for agreement to be reached. And we will work at that relentlessly until we get there.
Washington's top diplomat further stressed the extensive discussions which he held with the leadership of Jerusalem on the progress of the war in the Gaza Strip, as well as the low-intensity war vis-à-vis Hezbollah in Lebanon.
We had extensive discussions with the Prime Minister and national security leaders on the status of the military campaign to defeat Hamas, and on the progress toward achieving the fundamental objective of ensuring that October 7th never happens again. At the same time, we're continuing to work closely with Israel and Lebanon on diplomatic efforts to de-escalate tensions on Israel's northern border so that families can return to their homes, both in northern Israel and in southern Lebanon, and live in peace and security.
While the IDF continues to implement far-reaching measures well beyond any requisites dictated under international humanitarian law and the laws of war to avoid civilian casualties, Secretary Blinken nonetheless once again reiterated the Biden administration's demand that Israel do more to avoid collateral damage and help the civilian population of the Gaza Strip.
We urge Israel to do more to help civilians, knowing full well that it faces an enemy that would never hold itself to those standards, an enemy that cynically embeds itself among men, women, and children, and fires rockets from hospitals, from schools, from mosques, from residential buildings, an enemy whose leaders surround themselves with hostages, an enemy that has declared publicly its goal to kill as many innocent civilians as it can simply because they're Jews, and to wipe Israel off the map. That's why we've made clear that Israel is fully justified in confronting Hamas and other terrorist organizations. And that's why the United States has done more than any other country to support Israel's right to ensure that October 7th never happens again.
Secretary Blinken also addressed the Biden administration's aspirations for the day after the war in Gaza, while noting in parallel Iran's proactive efforts to curtail any peace resolution that would further integrate Israel into the region.
We remain determined as well to pursue a diplomatic path to a just and lasting peace and security for all in the region, and notably for Israel. And that diplomatic path continues to come into ever sharper focus as I travel throughout the region and talk to all of our friends and partners. An Israel that's fully integrated into the region, with normal relations with key countries, including Saudi Arabia, with firm guarantees for its security, alongside a concrete, time-bound, irreversible path to a Palestinian state living side by side in peace and security with Israel, with the necessary security assurances. Iran and its proxies continue to escalate and expand the cycle of violence that we all want to break. We'll continue to defend our people. We'll continue to defend our interests in the face of such attacks, not to fuel escalation, but to prevent it.
It is important to know that as part of the U.S.'s prolonged response to the blatant attack by an Iranian proxy against the U.S. Tower 22 base in Jordan, which claimed the lives of 3 service members and wounded over 40 others, U.S. Central Command confirmed that it executed a strike against a senior leader of the Iranian proxy in Iraq, Kataib Hezbollah, in the capital Baghdad. According to its statement, CENTCOM highlighted that its target was responsible for directly planning and participating in attacks on U.S. forces in the region. Meanwhile, in Baghdad, local residents voiced both outrage as well as fear over prospects of wider escalation.
The American strikes are a violation of Iraqi sovereignty. As an Iraqi today, I see some mistakes made by my fellows from the Popular Mobilization Forces. Yes, there are mistakes, but the government must hold them accountable and not the American forces, because they are our brothers in Iraq. No matter how much we disagree with them, and we have some differences, these are our brothers, a resistance force that resisted for Iraq against the Islamic State. The Islamic State is a terrorist organization created by global Zionism and the American administration, and we have seen the bombings and killings. But today we are infiltrated, we have no sovereignty. Where is the Iraqi government? We don't know the role of the Iraqi government. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani builds bridges. We no longer have dignity. The bombing yesterday killed some civilians. Are they from Popular Mobilization Forces? The situation is scary, the whole security situation. We are walking with our families in the street. What will we do if this situation happened before us? If anyone from our family or our friends were killed, we cannot bear. What happened to us before is not easy for any Iraqi citizen, so we cannot bear it. We ask the Iraqi authority to intervene in this matter, please. This matter is very dangerous, very dangerous.
Meanwhile, in Yemen, U.S. and U.K. aircraft launched 2 aerial strikes against the Iranian proxy Ansar Allah, which is dominated by the Houthi tribe, after the latter launched multiple surface-to-sea missiles toward commercial vessels transiting the Red Sea. And while the so-called Houthis are sustaining repeated blows to their military capabilities, their tribal leader vowed to continue attacks against vessels in the Red Sea and adjacent waterways so long as the war in Gaza persists.
I'm warning them, I say, that they must first stop their barbaric, brutal, and criminal aggression against Gaza, and to stop their siege of the Palestinian people, from whom they deny medicine and food in the Gaza Strip. Otherwise, we will seek to escalate further and further. We affirm our principled, Quranic position in supporting the Palestinian people and confronting the aggression against our country. Whatever the evil trio does, it will not affect our position, and it will not limit our capabilities and operations, Allah willing, and will not break the will of our people. Today, as we said, with Allah's grace, American and British ships were attacked.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I'd like to encourage you, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, as well as the salvation of Israel. Moreover, it is also important for us to highlight that TV7 Israel is a donation-based non-profit ministry with all of our productions available free of charge. Therefore, if you're blessed by our daily updates and would like to help bear the costs, please consider making a donation. You can do so by visiting our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Essen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we'll see you during our upcoming TV7 Israel updates. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.